strain. Was it a bicycle? What is wrong with my brain? Is it the end of me? No, I must still believe. So I'm still alive, you see. Heck yeah, now I'm on my way. But let's stay focused, there's still a job in hand that we must do. Cameras start to click, we know what create is something new. So go Marty and Sarah and Mark and Matt, Owen, Smitty, McCrilly and Jamie and Lane in the Archer County Band. The Archer County Band. The Archer County Band. The Archer County Band. Stop the clock, we're done, we're rolling. Sound the horn and sing that we are going. 27 hours, that is the time. So let's hop on the bus and let it shine, 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 shine. Say sha la 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 la, 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 sha la 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 la. Good evening, folks. You are very welcome to Bandido Talks. Yes, it is a Monday evening. Yes, the Bandido does not typically do a live show on a Monday evening. But of course, the audio gremlins were back last night again in our stream. And the audio gremlins were so bad that the Bandido, for the first time in the history of the channel, the Bandido had to delete his live stream. Now, of course, he didn't have to really delete it, but when I looked at the episode last night, and we had such a good show last night, we actually did this exact show last night. My Beef with Christmas, Part 3. But of course, when the Bandido was doing a little bit of reviewing of the show, he realized that about 5 minutes into the live stream, we had all of these audio problems. There was all of this distortion, all of this audio clipping, and it was a bit of a mess. And so as a result, the Bandido could not willingly allow last night's live stream to stay up on the channel because it's a little bit like Christmas cake. That's what the show was like last night. A really, really good Christmas cake. Loads of raisins in it. Nice and moist. Just the right texture. Everything about the show was great. But the audio gremlins, the audio clipping, the distortion that was creeping into the audio. It was like having sand in your otherwise marvelous Christmas cake. Imagine you've made the most fabulous Christmas cake, but there's some sand has been sprinkled throughout the Christmas cake. Even though the Christmas cake has been perfectly made, perfectly baked, the ingredients are all organic. Everything about it is terrific. But unbeknownst to you, some sand has been sprinkled into your Christmas cake. What do you do with a perfect Christmas cake that has sand in it? Can you continue to eat this Christmas cake? Can you serve this Christmas cake to other people? So that was the dilemma that the Bandido had last night when he reviewed the live show. It was a really, really good show. But the audio difficulties were like having sand in your Christmas cake. And so the Christmas cake had to go into the bin. And the Bandido had to sacrifice what was otherwise an excellent live stream. So of course, what did I decide to do? The audio gremlins are not going to win. I hope there aren't any audio gremlins right now as I'm speaking. But I decided, you know what? I want to do my part 3. I want to continue my beef with Christmas. The universe was trying to send me a signal last night. It was trying to say, Mr. Bandido, you can't do your live stream because we are going to send the audio gremlins to disrupt your live stream and try to persuade you to delete it. And so I bowed to the universe. I understood the universe's message. And so here we are tonight. Normally we don't do a live stream on a Monday night here on YouTube. But here we are. We have to finish my beef with Christmas minus the audio gremlins. So anyway, of course, folks, if you do enjoy our live streams, feel free to give us a thumbs up and a like. If you are joining us live here on Monday evening, as unusual as it sounds, if you are joining us live, feel free to get into the live chat. I would encourage you to get in there and let me know what you think as we go for take 2 of this final part of my beef with Christmas. Let me know what you think in the live chat. We will deal with all of the live chats at the end of the show. If, of course, you're watching the show after the live event has concluded, then get down into the comments section. The same thing applies. Let me know what you think about everything that we will talk about tonight. And then finally, folks, if you enjoy what we do here at Bandido Talks, if you find it useful, insightful, interesting, valuable in some way, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. We have 3 live shows every week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But that is actually going to change this incoming week. We used to have 3 live shows every week, but we're now going to have 4 live shows every week here on YouTube. We're going to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we normally did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we're adding in an extra live show on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Irish time here on YouTube. What are we going to do on this live show? Well, we are going to do 1 show a week in Espanol, 1 show a week in Spanish exclusively, because the Bandido likes to talk a bit of Espanol as well. He likes to talk a little bit of Spanish. So we're going to do 1 live show every week in Spanish exclusively. For those of you who maybe want to learn a little bit of Spanish, listen to someone who doesn't speak too quickly, but pronounces their words nice and clearly. We will do 1 show a week in Spanish. So every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we will have a live show. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be in English. Thursday's live show will be exclusively in Spanish. Of course, we have uploads throughout the week. We upload our best bits episodes. We upload little segments, 10 to 20 minute segments of our live streams. For those of you who couldn't be arsed going through the full live stream, we keep things digestible for you folks as well. We have the YouTube shorts, little 1 to 2 minute snippets from the shows. We will have original music coming your direction very soon from the Bandido. Of course, you have an original song in our little introduction. We will have more original music and compositions like that one coming your direction. And then, of course, folks, tomorrow night, Tuesday, the 30th of December, we have our third guest interview episode. So again, I've been plugging it all throughout our live shows last week. Tomorrow night, tune in, 7 p.m. Irish time, here on YouTube, a live premiere, our third guest interview episode. Who is our guest, of course? It is a three-dimensional functional movement specialist. It's all about health. It's all about your physical fitness. Important stuff, folks. Our previous interviews with Mr. David Feeney and Mr. Stevie J, check them out on the channel as well. They were more related to business. This one is more related to how to exercise properly, functional movement, health in general. Tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Irish time, to listen to our guest, our third guest interview episode. She knows her stuff, folks. You're going to have to tune in to listen to the whole episode. I think you're going to really enjoy it. But all of that stuff is coming your direction, folks. If you like the sound of that, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. And so with all of that out of the road, folks, let us get into tonight's show, minus the audio gremlins. And this is always strange when this happens. It's always strange when you do a live show, like we did last night. A really good show, and then you actually do the exact same show again the following night. So perhaps we're going to try and do things a little bit differently tonight. If you did join us last night live, you may hear some repetition, but we're going to try and attack it from a slightly different angle. Of course, what is tonight's show? I'm doing all of this rambling about other things, audio gremlins, and what we are going to be doing on the show. But tonight's show, what's it all about? Well, it's a continuation, it's our conclusion, we could say, to this little Christmas series that we've been running. My Beef with Christmas. Part 3, Debt. That's what tonight's show is all about. We talked about this last night, of course, until the audio gremlins came in and fucked everything up, putting sand into this really pristine and beautifully baked Christmas cake. I hope the audio gremlins piss off tonight and they don't invade the stream. But anyway, it's part 3 tonight, folks. We're going to conclude this little Christmas series, My Beef with Christmas. We're going to talk about debt. And of course, I'm going to explain my beef, like I've been doing. The beef will be explained, and then we are going to extract lessons from everything that we talk about tonight, because of course, that is what we do here on Bandido Talks. We extract the lessons, try to apply them to our own existence, and see if we can move one step closer to optimal circumstances in our own life. Okay, so let's try and lay this out. Our previous 2 shows of this little Christmas special series. Part 1, we talked about gifts. We talked about adults giving adults gifts. We talked about parents giving their children gifts. We talked about the peon, peasant, goyim public giving the billionaire royals gifts. That was part 1. Good show. Part 2, we talked about indulgence surrounding the festive period. About how people seem to think that it is acceptable to be an indulgent slop at Christmas time and to be deliberately unproductive. We talked all about that. So tonight we're going to talk about debt, part 3. And so, where shall we start? Well, as I was saying last night, here on the show, we've talked many times about news stories and political stories. And in fact, if I had to guess, probably around 80% of the news stories that we cover here on the show are political. We frequently talk about politicians, and we frequently talk about the decisions and the things that politicians do and what the government in general is doing in the United States here in the UK, in Ireland, we talk about these things. And I think it would be fair to say that a lot of people in the population, they don't have a lot of favourable words to direct towards politicians. In general, people are fairly pissed off with politicians and the government. We hear it all the time. If you consume news or media, whether it's through a newspaper, through the television, or via social media, if you are consuming any sort of news, then you are most likely consuming content that relates to politicians, the government, and what politicians and the government are doing in your country. And most people are paying attention to some sort of news. We all, to some degree, consume some form of media. As I've said, it could be with newspapers, your television, or with your mobile phone or your laptop. Social media. YouTube, like we are on right now. And so people are continuously consuming content that is relaying information about what politicians and the government is currently doing, or what they are currently doing as we speak. And in general, people out on the street, the regular citizens, would say that they are generally not very happy with what it is that politicians do. People will use words like deception, manipulation, self-interest, lying, porky pies, not holding their word, not being men of their word, not being women of their word. Generally, people will be unhappy with what it is that politicians do and with what it is that the government does. And that's fine. We can understand to a certain degree why people would be pissed off at politicians and the government. Because let's have a look at what's happening currently. Let's take the United Kingdom, who is, let's just say, whose leader is none other than Sir Keir Starmer. Now, we could apply this to perhaps any country in Europe. But let's just stick to the United Kingdom, because that is where the Bandido resides currently. So here in the United Kingdom, is it unreasonable, is it unfair that people would be pissed off at politicians and the government currently? Well, let's have a look at what's happening. We have inflation and a whole bunch of money printing. And what happens when you have a whole bunch of money printing? Well, it devalues the currency because there's now more money in circulation. And when there is more money in circulation, it makes the current money that you hold less valuable, which means if you are holding money in a savings account, it is losing value with every passing day. And so we have this big inflated economy because of all of this money printing. And so because there's so much inflation and so much money printing, people's savings are dissolving. It is far more difficult for your savings to hold value because so much money is being injected into the money system. So that will piss people off. It goes without saying. But of course, there's more. What happened recently in the budget? We were told that taxes would not go up. And what happened in the budget? Up went the taxes. The taxes went up. And so now you have to give more of your money to the government. So when you go out and earn an honest wage, you have to give away more of that money to the government. Does this money get reinvested into the country, or does it go to far-flung locations to support allies that are participating in certain wars at the moment? Does it get reinvested back into the actual place in which you are living, the United Kingdom? Does the United Kingdom look like it's thriving at the moment? Is your tax money More of it now is being taken, of course, with the tax rises that have been implemented. Is that money going back into the United Kingdom to make your community better, to make your country better, or is it going elsewhere? Well, some people might be pissed off at that as well. What else is happening at the moment? Well, of course, the prices of things in general are going up. And are your wages going up? No, your wages are not going up either. So your wages are not going up at the same speed at which prices are increasing, which means you have the same wage, but things are more expensive, which makes it more difficult for you to purchase things. Your money doesn't go as far. People might be pissed off about that as well. What else has happened? Well, the minimum wage went up. And some retarded people in the population thought this was a good thing. Widespread retardation among certain sections of the population when they heard this. But of course, when we think about this, when the minimum wage goes up, and it is forced to go up by the government and your politicians, what does this actually do? Well, it actually makes it more difficult for employers to employ you. Because if the employers have to pay you more, that means they are leaking more money. And whether you are particularly skilled or not, it doesn't matter, because you have to be given this fixed minimum wage, which has now went up. So look at it from the perspective of the employers. Independent of how good or not you are, you must be paid this increased minimum wage. And so employers will be they will have less of a incentive, let's say, to employ more people, to hire more people, because they're going to lose more money when they hire more people, because the minimum wage has went up. And because the minimum wage has went up, this doesn't guarantee the employers more quality in their business. Oh no. It just means they have to fork out more money. And if a business owner or an employer knows that they have to fork out more money now to pay employees, what are they going to do? They're not going to employ as many people. They will be far more selective about who it is that they are employing, because they will be leaking money whoever they employ. That's what happens when your minimum wage is forced to go up. Instead of employers just paying people what they're actually worth, if the employee is actually contributing something valuable to the business, they get paid for what it is that they contribute, for the skills that they bring. Oh no, independent of how many skills you have or how much value you bring, the minimum wage going up now means that the employer is forced to pay you this, independent of what they think your value actually is. And so as a result, the employer feels less prone to employ people, which causes what to go up? That's right. It has now led to an increased probability of more unemployment. Some people might be pissed off about that as well. So let's do a big review now, shall we? Inflated economy, money printing, leading to savings dissolving, and your money being worth less. Taxes going up, meaning you lose more of your now increasingly worthless money, which doesn't get necessarily reinvested back into the country. Prices of things are going up, and your wage is not going up in tandem with the rising prices, meaning it's more difficult for you to purchase things. And the minimum wages went up, which means young people or other people who want to gain employment, it is now more difficult for them to get employment, which means we could say there's an increased probability of unemployment, which means people are sitting around scratching their rear ends, bored out of their bollocks, and getting up to other unproductive activities. So there's a little summary. And we could say that some people are going to be pissed off about this. Now, I can hear you saying already, Mr. Bandido, what has this got to do with your beef with Christmas? Why are you even talking about this? Where are you going with this discussion? Well, you see, everything that I have just outlined, I'm not saying you don't have a right to critically analyze everything that I've just outlined. And perhaps it's understandable if you are pissed off about everything that I've just outlined. That your politicians are, perhaps we could say, some people would say that your politicians are taking advantage of you and screwing you over. Same with the government, having a good chuckle and laugh. Ha ha ha. Some people could say that. And we could say that, you know what, it's perhaps understandable that some people would be pissed off listening to all of this. But why is it that I'm saying this? And how does this relate to tonight's episode, My Beef with Christmas, Part 3, Debt? Well, everything that I've just outlined about how your politicians and your government may be pissing you off and doing things that are making your life more difficult. All of those things that I've just mentioned, they all fall into the same category. And do you know what that category is going to be called? It's going to be called the category of uncontrollables. That's what we are going to call this. All of these things I have just outlined, they are what we are going to call uncontrollables. Meaning what? Uncontrollables are things that you have no say in. There's nothing you can do about them. It doesn't matter how much you kick and scream, you cannot influence these things. In other words, they are uncontrollables. That's what we are going to call them. And so all of these things, inflation, money printing, taxes increasing, prices of things going up, minimum wage going up, more unemployment, all of these things, they are uncontrollables, meaning we can't do anything about them. In exactly the same way as the weather is an uncontrollable. Can we analyze the weather? And can we try to predict the weather? Can we try to adapt to the weather? Yes. Can we control the weather? No. All we can do is pay attention, try to get information about the weather and do the best we can to adapt to whatever the weather's going to throw at us. But we cannot fundamentally control the weather. The weather is going to do what the weather is going to do. We can just prepare as best as we can and adapt to whatever is thrown our direction, weather-wise. These things are exactly like the weather. Can you get pissed off about the weather? Maybe you don't like cold weather. Maybe you don't like wet weather or warm weather, whatever type of weather. Can you get pissed off about it? Yes, you can. Can you do anything about it? No, absolutely zero. You can't fundamentally change the weather, but you can adapt to it. And so all of these things are exactly the same. The weather goes into the category of an uncontrollable, and all of these things, inflation, money printing, taxes going up, prices of things increasing, minimum wage going up, unemployment, lack of investment in the UK, all of these things, they are uncontrollables. You can't do anything about them. You cannot influence them. All you can do is adapt the best that you can so that these things don't hinder your existence dramatically. You want to be able to adapt. When taxes go up, you want to be able to adapt. When inflation comes into the economic climate, you want to be able to adapt. When there's more unemployment, you want to be able to adapt. When prices of things start to increase, you want to be able to adapt. You want to find yourself in optimal circumstances or close to optimal circumstances for you so that you can adapt appropriately when things that are out of your control are forced upon you. Whether you like it or not, you need to be able to adapt. In other words, everything that we've talked about, weather included, is an uncontrollable. It's out of your hands. You can only react to it and adapt as best as you can. Now, why am I taking so much time to lay this out? Well, you see, folks, These things are uncontrollables, and we must react and adapt to them. But there are certain things in our lives which are what we are going to call controllables. Meaning they are 100% under our control. The politicians cannot influence these things. The government cannot influence these things. The weather generally cannot influence these things. They are 100% under your control. And do you know what one of these controllables are? Not getting into debt at Christmas. That is a controllable. For those of you who may know people who have got themselves into debt at Christmas because they have got a little bit excited using their credit card. The government did not force these people to spend all this money on their credit card. The politicians did not force these people to be so reckless with their money. These people willingly put themselves into debt during the festive period. This was 100% under these people's control. But they decided, even though the economic climate is difficult and people are struggling to make ends meet, there is a lot of inflation, prices of things are increasing, your taxes have increased. Even though these people know this, they decided to willingly subject themselves to a debt-ridden existence. And they decided to enter into the new year, whatever that means, with a big debt sack hanging from their back, weighing them down and making their life miserable. Nobody forced them to do it. Nobody came into their house with a gun or a crossbow and said, you have to get yourself into debt at Christmas this year. And if you don't do it, I'm going to put this arrow through your noggin. That did not happen. And someone didn't come into these people's houses with guns and threaten them and say, this credit card must be fully utilized across the festive period. Didn't happen. People willingly put themselves into debt. Nobody forced them to do it. And you know the funny thing about this, folks? These people who are in debt now, thanks to their extravagant spending at Christmas, spending which they could not afford to do, these people are the same people who will bitch, whine and complain about how the politicians and government are screwing them over and screwing their country over. And here they are, screwing themselves over willingly. These are the same people, the walking, talking contradictions, who will stand before you and criticize the politicians for being idiots and numbskulls and deceptive pieces of shit, for implementing tax rises and for inflating the economy and everything else that we've talked about. These are the same people who will complain about these politicians and the government, and they willingly put themselves in a disadvantageous situation by getting themselves into debt, essentially drawing themselves further away from optimal circumstances. They do it willingly, and they are making their lives miserable through their own actions. Through no force, through nothing of the sort. They decided to do it. And these people are the ones who will complain about the politicians and the government. And yet, here you have a controllable. The controllable being what you decide to do at Christmas. How much debt and extravagant spending you're going to partake in at Christmas. This is fully under your control. And what do many people do? Like absolute headless chickens. Brain has been turned off. The lights are on, but there's nobody home. These people go out and literally make it easy for other people to exploit them. They put themselves in such disadvantageous circumstances that it is so easy for politicians, for governments, or other people to exploit them. And here they come at different times of the year. This politician raised taxes and he did this, and the government's screwing us over because, you know, they're sending our money off to foreign allies, and it's a disgrace what's happening in the UK, but I'm gonna go and put myself into debt like a retard and put myself into circumstances that are far from optimal. I'm going to willingly do it like an absolute idiot. A controllable, something that was fully within my grasp, something that I could fully control, something that I could fully influence. And I'll bitch, whine and complain about the politicians and about how they are screwing us over. And yet I actually screw myself over. And that's my beef. The beef being, people are walking, talking contradictions. They whine and complain about the government and the politicians. And I'm not saying that governments and politicians shouldn't have their actions critically analysed and put through a thoughtful analysis. Of course they should, like anything. But you see, what the politicians do and what the government does is an uncontrollable. You can't do anything about it. You, as an individual, you can do nothing about it. All you can do is vote. And you get to do that, what, every 4 years? If that even means anything. Different show for a different day. In other words, you can't do anything. What the government is going to do is what the government is going to do. What the politicians are going to do are what the politicians are going to do. What the weather is going to do is what the weather is going to do. They are uncontrollables. And that's my beef. The beef is people contradict themselves. And how can you take someone seriously? How can you take someone's analysis seriously when they criticize a politician or a government for the actions that they are currently rolling out? When these same people who are complaining about the government and the politicians literally cut their own legs off, in a metaphorical sense. They literally take the saw and go, yeah, that's great. That's great to hear, Mary. Oh, Jesus, I've sawed my leg off. But Jesus, would you look at that? I'm bleeding out. Mary, do you see? I cut my leg off. I didn't mean to do it. But, you know, the leg is now detached. And so you have these people who engage in their complaining. But they literally, in a non-coerced way, they literally willingly subject themselves to misery by getting themselves into debt at Christmas. That's what they do. These are the people who are complaining about the government. So it's very difficult to take anybody seriously in terms of their analysis when they are so idiotic in their own life, with their own actions. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. What are you doing? What are your actions? Show me what you're doing. All right, you're pissed off about the inflation and the taxes going up. All right. So what are you doing to put yourself in the most optimal circumstances so that you can adapt and change and be able to react appropriately, so that the influence that these decisions, which are out of your control, the impact that these decisions that governments and politicians are making, what are you doing so that the impact is minimal on your own existence? The only way to reduce the impact of these uncontrollable events is if you are close to or in optimal circumstances. So yes, if someone's telling me that they're pissed off with politicians and the government, well then I would like to hear What are you doing in order to put yourself in optimal circumstances so that you are most adaptable whenever uncontrollable things take place, like inflation and taxes going up and prices increasing? Are you working towards putting yourself in optimal circumstances? Are you engaging in productive behaviors? What are you doing? Oh, that's right. That's what you're doing. Getting yourself into debt willingly, like an idiot. And then you go and bitch, whine and complain about the politicians and the government again. You cannot be taken seriously. Your analysis means nothing because your actions are contradicting your words. Your talk is cheap. That's my beef. That's the beef. People are full of shit at times. And sometimes the people who are full of the most shit, they are fully revealed during the festive period. And so what is it that we can learn from this? What is the lesson? Well, the lesson is very simple, folks. There are things in your life that are controllable, and there are things in your life that are uncontrollable. The uncontrollables you can do nothing about. You have no influence over them. Inflation, taxes going up, prices rising, unemployment increasing around you, the weather. These things, folks, are out of your control. There are things, however, that are in your control. And one of the things that is in your control is your ability to engage in productive activity that is going to be guiding you towards optimal circumstances. Because the closer you are to optimal circumstances in your life, the better you will be able to adapt to uncontrollable events that are taking place. If you do not have your ducks in a row or your house in order, then you are more susceptible to the effects of uncontrollable events. And so what you want to do is you want to be preparing and getting yourself in a position of power. Financially, physically, in terms of your health, all of these things. You want to be putting yourself in a position of power so that when uncontrollable things happen, as a result of decisions made by politicians or governments, you can mitigate against the effects of these things because you are in optimal circumstances and you have your own house in order. You have continued to be productive throughout the festive period. You haven't engaged in any ridiculous, extravagant spending on worthless, meaningless gifts or signaling to other people who don't really mean anything to you, or getting overly indulgent just because it's culturally acceptable to do so, and being deliberately unproductive so that you don't draw the strange looks from people around you at the Christmas party. What is it that you're doing? Well, whatever it is you're doing, you want to be focusing on your controllables. And that's the thing. Tonight's show, part 3, debt. You can control whether you are in debt or not during the festive period. You can decide to extravagantly spend and use all the money on your credit card. Nobody has forced you to do that. It's 100% within your control. It's a controllable. And so you can fully influence that particular thing. And so the big lesson would be, folks, uncontrollables we cannot influence. But if we have a full and firm grasp over the controllables in our life, then we will be better able to adapt to uncontrollable, unforeseen circumstances that sprout up. And we will be able to adapt and mitigate against the negative effects because we are closer to optimal circumstances. The closer we are to optimal circumstances, the better it is for us. The better it is that we're able to buffer ourselves against these things. So always look at your controllables. And in the context of this episode, getting into debt because you can't control your credit card and your urge to grandstand and signal and buy shit that's worthless crap. That's a decision that you made and you made alone. That has nothing to do with politicians or the government. That was you. And you must bear the full responsibility for that decision. And there's no point in bitching and complaining about inflation and taxes going up now that you're in debt. You put yourself in debt. You put yourself in disadvantageous circumstances because you didn't control a controllable. And now you're going to try and divert everyone's attention towards the uncontrollables. You didn't control the controllable. And so now, if you start to get more heavily affected by inflation, by taxes going up and all these things, that's on you. You were irresponsible. Nobody made you get into debt at Christmas. You did that. Your decision. You live and die by the sword. You live and die by the sword, essentially. So anyway, that's the beef. Those are the lessons. And you know what, folks? It's very important to always remember your controllables. Whenever something happens in life that is unforeseen and turbulent, it happens all the time, folks. Unforeseen, turbulent circumstances that have nothing to do with you, that aren't your fault, can sprout up randomly. And they can really knock you for six. Whenever that happens, folks, the uncontrollable thing that has happened, fair enough. That's not your fault. But whenever there is turbulence from an uncontrollable, we always want to focus on our controllables. The things that are under our full influence. Because the better the grip that we can get on our own controllables, the better our ability to offset the negative effects that are potentially going to come from the unforeseen, uncontrollable event. So always, no matter what the event is, no matter what the uncontrollable event is, always think to yourself, okay, in this circumstance, what are the things that I do have control over? That is the first thing you should be thinking in any moment of turbulence. What do I have control over? And let me focus my attention right there. And let me try and get these controllables in optimal shape. And then let's just see then how badly affected I am by this uncontrollable event. Let's see how much more adaptable I become when I get full control over the controllables. And Christmas time, and what you decide to do at Christmas time with your credit card, that is a controllable. Nobody is taking your hand and forcing you to put the credit card into the little machine and press the buttons. That's you. You had full control over your mind, over your decisions. There wasn't a brain chip put into your brain to control your thinking. That has nothing to do with any politician or any government. You just didn't take control of a controllable. And now, you're in problematic circumstances because now you're in debt. And when you're in debt, you are far more susceptible to the negative effects of uncontrollable events that have nothing to do with you and aren't your fault. Anyway, enough rambling from the Bandido. Boy, I'm going to be pissed off if there's a gremlin in the stream tonight because we've had another excellent stream. I mean, slightly, it's actually quite a bit different from last night's show. Quite a bit different just the way we went about it. Hopefully I don't have to delete this show. That will piss me off if I have to do that. But hopefully there are no gremlins. Let me have a check here and see. Is there any indication that we have trouble tonight? Hopefully not. I've got some new gear coming in the next few days that'll hopefully put the audio gremlins to bed. But I don't have the gear in yet, so I've had to make a few adjustments here to the standard setup. But anyway, really good show. Really good show last night. We've attacked it in a similar but slightly different way. So hopefully you've got some value out of that. But of course, there are live chats to attend to, perhaps. So let's get over to the live chats. Let's see what you have to say about everything tonight. Are you pissed off yet? We've got to part 3. Have I insulted you sufficiently yet? First I go at the gifts. Then I go at the indulgence. Now I go at the debt. Are you pissed off yet? Let me know how pissed off you are in the chat or down in the comments. Anyway, just serving the universe. That's all I'm doing. Just serving the universe, keeping things in balance. Don't want the merriness and the jolliness to run out of control. Just doing my service to humanity, folks. Let's have a look in the live chat. There mightn't be anybody in the live chat. That has happened before. Let's have a look and see. Is there anybody in the live chat? Let me get this set up and see. Well, it looks like there are 2 live chats. No bagel tonight. We've avoided the bagel. Now let's have a look and see. What's been said? I'm looking at one of these comments, and I don't like the look of this comment. Griper Dave says the following: you may be pissed off, unfortunately. The grime are here. Griper Dave, get into the live chat and let me know, when you say grime are here, do you mean audio gremlins? Is that what you mean? Goodness gracious me, that will piss me off if there are audio gremlins. Griper Dave, if you are still with us live, get into the chat and let me know. Are there audio gremlins? Let me see. Are there audio gremlins? Griper Dave says, good show though. But are there audio gremlins? I'm going to be persistent here because I have no way to actually check. I have a way to check to see. Griper Dave's doing a whole bunch of commenting here. So you may be pissed off, unfortunately. The grime are here. Griper Dave then says, good show though. Griper Dave, be definitive in your comments. Are there gremlins? Do we have audio difficulty on the stream tonight? I'll wait and see if he drops a more definitive comment into the chat. What else is Griper Dave saying? He says, funny how wage goes up, but tax never goes down. Ha! Indeed. The minimum wage goes up, but tax never goes down. That is indeed true. That is a very interesting observation about how, yes, it wouldn't do to lower taxes, but we'll increase the minimum wage and make it more difficult for employers to take on employees. Goodness gracious me. Couldn't have the taxes going down. That wouldn't do. But we have to make ourselves adaptable, folks. We have to make ourselves adaptable, get closer to optimal circumstances, control the controllables to make sure that we can offset some of these negative effects, such as taxes going up. But indeed, funny how wages go up. Or minimum wages go up. But taxes never go down. Indeed. Griper Dave says, yes, there are audio gremlins. Well, fuck me, that pisses me off. Goodness gracious me. Oh my goodness me. The Bandido's pissed off. The sooner the new gear comes in, the better. But anyway, we're going to thank Griper Dave for getting active in the live chat. He has informed the Bandido of the harsh reality that yes, indeed, there are audio problems, it would seem. Oh, holy fuck. Anyway. Thank you, Griper Dave, for relaying the horrendous news. Don't shoot the messenger, I suppose. But anyway, that draws tonight's show to a close. I will review the show and see how bad the audio disturbances are. They are probably the same as last night. I'll see at what stage they came into tonight's show. Hopefully they weren't too disruptive. But anyway, folks, tune in to tomorrow night. We have our third guest interview episode. Episode 3 with our guests, with our functional movement specialist, our 3D functional movement specialist. Tune in for that show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. live premiere here on YouTube. I hope to see you there in the live chat. Of course, folks, enjoy the rest of your incoming week. We've got, of course, remember, we'll have our first show in Spanish this Thursday. Maybe I might have to reconsider that, actually, because I don't know if I'll have my new gear by that stage, and I couldn't be fucked doing another show if I'm going to have audio difficulties. So I may need to reconsider. Keep an eye out on the page. I'll send a little post, a little written post deciding if I'm going to do a show on Thursday night. I might wait until this new gear comes in to sort out this fucking audio crap that's happening. Anyway, keep an eye out on the channel. I'll definitely be here on Friday. Hopefully I'll be here on Thursday for our first show in Spanish. Tune in tomorrow night for our guest interview episode. And if I don't see you tomorrow night, all being well, I'll maybe see you on Thursday for our Spanish show. Or if I don't see you on Thursday because you don't speak Spanish and you don't want to listen to the Bandido speaking in Spanish, then I will see you on Friday live for what will probably be a run of New Year's shows. We'll see how it goes. Keep an eye on the channel. I'll keep you updated as to what we are going to be posting in the incoming days. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, folks. Hopefully the audio disturbances weren't too problematic. I'll have a look here and see. All being well, I'll get chatting to you in the next few days. But anyway, that is, folks, over and out from the Bandido this Monday evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll get chatting to you very soon, folks.